There is a moment in every life when you decide to rise, to stand taller than your fear, to speak louder than your doubt, to chase the vision that sets your soul on fire. This is that moment. And here, we walk it together with stories that awaken, voices that inspire, and truths that set you free. This is Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald, where hope has a voice, and that voice is yours. And today we have a great show for you. Brachelle's voice is going to be next right here. How are you, Brachelle?
I'm good, Kevin. We're having a very upbeat day, and we're about to have a very important show, as we always do. We have Paula J Roscoe here with us today. She has a website, pjroscoe.co.uk. And right off the bat, you see she talks about fictional novels, a little bit of that, some grief therapy, healing work, and so many more things. So thank you so much for being patient with us through this crazy day, Paula. And we're very excited to be here finally with you. How are you today?
Oh, that's absolutely fine. You know, I know how life can be, so don't worry about it. Yeah, I'm good. It's been a great day for me, very busy because of, obviously I'm about 8 hours ahead of you. So I'm going to have my cup of tea later after I've finished talking to you.
Are you sure it's going to be a cup of tea, lassie? Are you sure it's not going to be something more than that?
Well, not during the weekday, but wait until Saturday. Yes, I'll have my glass of wine then.
Yeah.
Okay. It's great to see you, and it's great to have you here. You are in merry old England. Actually, you're in Wales, which is even better than England. So.
Yes, we are a separate country, but I suppose we're considered part of the British Isles. But we'll see.
So educate me here, because are you part of Great Britain, and are you a member of Great Britain, which also England is a member of Great Britain as well?
Yes, we're considered part of Great Britain. Yes.
Oh, but very good.
We are our own country in our own right, so we have our own parliament and everything. So.
Good.
And who is the Prince of Wales right now?
I haven't got a clue. I don't follow the royalty at all.
She's like, you know what? We're happy. We ain't got to worry about it.
Yeah, haven't a clue. It could be Kevin for all I know. I don't know.
Well, the last one that I knew about was Prince Charles before Prince Charles became King Charles.
Apparently, yeah.
He knows more than we do. So
no idea. I'm afraid that a lot of us Welsh, we don't really take much notice of the monarchy. I'm afraid.
Oh, you're an independent lot, are you?
We are full of the Celtic spirit, and I did marry an Englishman, so I have to kind of be nice. But we are, we are Welsh.
Yes.
Well, I got to ask you, where did the kilt come from? Is that Scottish?
Well, you've got Scotland and Ireland, and obviously the Welsh, and we're all Celts. We're all faerie. We all didn't particularly like the English at a certain time you guys
have been fighting wars with them for like 1,000 years, so.
Yeah, and I think more or less we still do, but
Well, I think I'm going to move with Paula, Kevin.
Yeah. Well, the only reason I ask that or bring it up is because I've always wanted to know what a good Scotsman or a good Welshman will wear underneath their kilt.
Well, the Welsh, we don't wear kilts. That's just Scots. We like to dress rather however we damn well please, really. We're the old miners, we're the ones who would go down into the depths of the earth and we would bring up the coal, and we would, that was our kind of thing, that the good old Welshman, and we'd sing loud and proud while we did it. Yeah.
I got one of the things that I've always wanted to do, and I haven't got to do it yet, is to go to a pub in where you are, because of the singing that you guys do and the raucous nature that you guys, I envision a pub would be a lot of fun to go to. Am I right?
Oh, yeah, it can be really good, especially when you got the rugby going. And on St. David's Day, we all sort of were singing the anthem, we get behind the Welsh and Cymru, we're really going for it. And it's almost like, you can see the rivalry between the English and the Welsh. That really comes out in the rugby. Yeah. We're very proud.
Rochelle, are you familiar with the sport of rugby?
Yes, actually, my stepsister played rugby. It was something I wanted to do, but I probably would have been hurt a lot since I was little, but I felt fiery enough to do it. Trust me. And I have a lot of Scottish in me as well, so I know what it's like those kind of people they're just spitballs. It's built in our blood. That's the way we are.
Yeah.
But it is one of the more violent sports, and they don't wear, like in American football, they have helmets, they have shoulder pads, they have pads all over the place, and all you guys have is a t-shirt and shorts. That's how tough you are.
Unless the t-shirt gets ripped off and they keep going.
I don't really know much about American football, but it looks kind of the same-ish about rugby. And you do it with armor on. We do it with just t-shirt and shorts, and we just go for it.
And you really do, and it's great fun. So, but let's talk about Paula, and let's talk about the work that you do, and the writings that you've done, and the books you've published, and all of that. What got you started doing all of this stuff?
Oh, going back a bit. So, I first started writing seriously 28 years ago, after the sudden death of my son. And it was what saved me, really. It was a case of, if I don't write, then I just didn't think I was going to survive the day, So I just started doodling one day, and the doodle became a short story. And within 4 months, it became my first novel. And that novel went on to win 3 awards. And then it just kind of, okay, well, I can obviously do this. So I just carried on doing it. And I just kept writing historical fictional novels. And when my daughter was born, I wrote fairy stories for her that had morals and how to live in harmony with the earth and how to live in harmony with each other. Because she has autism, so she was bullied a lot. So it was about teaching her that it's okay to be yourself and things like that. So those stories, I would give them to the school, and eventually we just thought, okay, we'll publish those as well. So they're out and about in the world too. And it just kind of came from that.
Well, congratulations on. Did you always know that you could write, or was this a bit of an epiphany all of a sudden?
No, I loved writing from when it's a cliche, isn't it? As soon as I could pick up a pencil, I was writing. And I would write short stories when I was little. When I was about 8, 9 years old, I would write about a magical zoo that took the mickey out of the visitors who had been that day, and they'd all gone home. It's like, well, why are they visiting a zoo? Why are they coming to see us? And I would sort of have an elephant comparing himself to a big, big man with a bowler hat on. And I wrote a story about a giraffe who was taking the mickey out of someone with a turtleneck on. Why are they trying to get their necks so big, like mine, tall like mine and stuff? And then one of those won. It came third in a writing competition, and that kind of, it was just one of those things I just did as a child. Every English lesson that said, right, do some writing, my friends knew not to talk to me because I would be writing short stories and stuff. And it was also a way for me to learn how to write English, really, because Welsh was my first language, and I couldn't read or write English until I was about 8, 9. So and even now, I'm so glad I've got a good editor, because even now I look at it, and to me it looks okay, but when she reads it back to me, it's backwards. So because when you change Welsh to English and English to, it's backwards, if that makes sense. So
Well,
yeah.
I gotta ask you, because this is a worldwide presentation. I had no, because you're part of Great Britain. I had no idea that you speak a different language. Did you know that, Michelle?
Yeah, I figured. I mean, you kind of hear it. Did you not hear what she was saying? But I think it's
Well,
so cool too. And English is like that, even with Spanish. It's all backwards. But the fact that you
Mm,
can even remember those stories from being way back then.
yeah.
I remember
Yeah.
as you're talking, I'm like, oh, I remember where I was sitting in that one class in front of that one screen, just typing my little heart away. It was the only time Rochelle shut up in the classroom. How you said
Yeah.
your friends knew, don't talk to you. It's like
Oh
you
yeah,
get in
'cause
the
it was grown up.
zone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
To remember
I
that
just
is so
love
cool.
I love stories, I've got I'm in a Pisces as well, so I've got such an imagination. And people sort of say to me all the time, well, you've written, I don't know how many books I've written now, about 15, I think. And it's kind of, how many more have you got in you? And I said, well, I've got about 7 that are trying to, get out, but I haven't found the time yet to. So I'm one of these people I can sort of write something, finish, walk away sort of mid-sentence, come back and just carry on as though I never left. It's all in here.
Yes.
Yeah. Love it.
That actually makes sense to me. We talked to a lot of authors and everything you just said. I'm like, oh yeah, I get that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
where someone
And
like me, I'd have to read what I wrote again before I remembered what it was that I wrote, and then I could continue, maybe.
yeah, but it's one of those things that when I was growing up, I said to my mother when I was about 12, 13, I want to be an author. I want to write books. And she said, that's fine. So we went to go and see the career advisor. And I can remember this distinctly, what she said to me, Paula, you're not clever enough to write books.
Wait a
So
minute. Wait a minute. The counselor said you're not clever enough to write books?
the career counselor said to me, you are not clever enough to write books.
That
Because
person needs to lose their job.
absolutely. If I ever
Is
meet
that
her,
why
I'm
you
gonna
did what
beat
you
her to
did?
death.
You said, let me prove you wrong.
I would love to meet her again, just to beat her with one of my books, and But yeah, she's, because I was also very good with my hands. I've got very small hands, and I was very good at massage and things. And I'm very good. I didn't realize it at the time, but I was giving healing to people and stuff like that. And she said, well, Paula, why don't you go that route? Why don't you go and do massage and do therapy that way? So I listened to her and I did. And I became a beauty, health and sports therapist and hairdresser, a wig maker and all that kind of thing, which was great. And I'm glad that I did it. But that need to write was still there. And it wasn't until after the death of my son, I had the guts, I suppose, to say, right, I'm going to do it. I'm doing it.
Well, first of all, we're sorry for your loss. And
Yeah.
Thank
And I have
you.
to say too, because this month is child loss awareness.
It is.
And
Yes.
it is, I know how you feel and the things that you go through. And there is that light that you found that you're like, what can I do to make this beautiful in some sort of sense? And then you went into helping people with grief and
I did.
all those things, and you understood it yourself. So it's
Yes, it became, well, when Jack died, I was basically told, look, you're young enough, go and have another one. That was it. That was the extent of the support I got. And I did. A year later, we had Megan. But that grief never went away. It was okay. Now I'm a mum to a child with special needs. I have to put the grief for my son on hold. So it was it became very, very complicated. And then 3 years after he died, we found out that the hospital had kept his body to experiment with. So, yeah, I know. So then we had to go through the whole grief thing again, and deal with all the consequences of that. But again, I had no support. There was nothing there. So I went and thought, right, okay, I'm good. So I became, over 4 years, I became a therapist, and grief became my speciality. And I went on to train people how to become grief therapists. And I did that for 6 years. And I worked with Cruise Bereavement Care. And I just constantly found holes within therapy with grief, where people were constantly trying to be put into boxes, and it's like, no, grief doesn't work that way, so I was having to find a new way of therapy with clients, and I realized that you have to heal the mind, body, and spirit, because all three are affected by grief. And sadly, therapists are only just dealing with the mind or the emotion. Well, what about the spirit? What about everything else that goes with it? So I started to create various programs, various workshops around that. And I was seeing a huge difference. It was like it turned on its head, because people are brought up from a very, very early age to believe that grief is forever. You can't heal grief. Well, you can, but it's the words you use that dictates how you feel and how you behave. So you change that. You change the words, you change the writing. I incorporated a lot of writing into it. So it wasn't all just about speaking. And then when people started to write, they were tapping into a deeper part of their emotion, deeper part of their spirit, and they were getting results. So people say to me things like, well, how do you not grieve your son? I said, I don't need to grieve my son. I love my son on a different level now. I can love him in a completely different way without falling into that grief, without falling into that mourning, if that makes sense. But
Yeah.
It does. And Paula, we need to take a break, but I want to follow that when we come back, because there is a way, and to describe the way that you deal with grief, there is a way that it doesn't have to be a lifelong sentence of negativity, but it's also got components of physicalness and mentalness and spiritual. It's all combined, like you said. And I'd like to continue on that theme. Can we do that, Rochelle?
Yes, let's please do, because as I was thinking, all five senses are affected by everything, and that matters. So Paula, I'm gonna let you explain it, and I'm gonna learn today.
And we will be right back. It's just 49 seconds, so stay right with us, please.
They gave her crowns, but never freedom. They gave her titles, but never peace. The Girl of Many Crowns is the story of Judith of Francia, a woman born into power, yet bound by duty. In an age ruled by kings and scarred by war, she found her strength not in her throne, but in her heart. This is a story of courage, love, and the fight to be free when the world told her she couldn't be. Step into her journey, feel her fire, and see how one woman's choices change the course of history. The Girl of Many Crowns, available now on Amazon Books, Kindle, Amazon Audiobooks, Barnes & Noble, Kobo, and BookBaby Bookshop. Order your copy today.
And welcome back to Positive Talk. My name is Kevin McDonald, and Rochelle is right there, and we've got a great guest. And she's going to help us understand the complexity of what grief is and how it affects people in a myriad of different ways, doesn't it?
Oh, gosh, yes. I mean, grief affects your mind, body, and spirit. It affects your thoughts. It affects your feelings. It affects your behavior. So everything changes, and life continues, and you're stuck here. So it's very, very important that people allow themselves first. You have to allow yourself, give yourself permission to grieve. You have to do that. I hear so many times people saying to me, oh, no, I haven't got time. I have to get back to work, or my family need me, or my children need me, or no. Whoa. Okay. So you're basically saying to the world, I'm not as important as everybody else. So we have to, when I'm working with clients, we have to look back to where that started, where that feeling of lack of importance came from. Because everything that you do now is dictated from what happened to you whenever it was, whether it was in your childhood, your teenage years, or your younger self is now dictating who you behave as now. So not to fix, but to enhance, to open you up, to allow you to give yourself permission to grieve, we have to start in the past. And we work through and we heal your mind, body, and spirit. Now, when I'm talking about spirit, people immediately say, oh, are we talking religion here? No, I'm not a religious person whatsoever. I do work with angels and spirit guides. I do see spirit. I've been seeing them since I was a young child. So when I'm working with somebody, I am using that guidance of angels and spirit guides at the same time. So they might say to me, ask them that. Show them that, get them to write that down. And it's an instinctive thing. It's a straight on thing. So through that, I created a 5-month program incorporating writing. And people say to me, well, can you tell me what the questions are going to be? No. That's the point. You're not supposed to know what the questions are going to be, so that when you answer them, you are answering from your heart space where all your answers are and not your head. Because the second you go to your head, you have gone into self-preservation mode. So you will only answer safely. And you will do that just instinctively. Of course, we all want to be safe, don't we? What we need to do is get to the core of where all that started. Why are you not allowing yourself to grieve completely? Once we get to that, then they unfold. All the truths come out. And they allow themselves to grieve completely. Now, I've worked with women who have dealt with severe trauma. I mean, watching their children die from drugs or car crashes or, even murder. And people will say to me, there's no way that you can heal that. Well, of course you can. It comes down to that person. If they want to heal, if they are ready to completely envelop everything, mind, body, and spirit, then of course they can, because it's the words you use is the life you choose. So if you're constantly saying to yourself, I'll never give up grief, I will never get over somebody, well, then you've already dictated your life. You will never get over somebody. You will never stop grieving. But if you can turn that and it's not always easy, it's just little tweaks to start with, and say something along the lines of, I may not feel it now, but I'm going to trust that at some point I'm going to release a little bit of grief, just a little bit at a time. And over time, you're releasing that little bit more. And then what happens is we get them to a place where they're able to live completely, fully again, and embrace life. And when you do that, when you raise the energy, like I said to you before, I'm able to love my son from a different energy, a different frequency. I know he's perfectly fine. I know he's full of love, and I'm full of love for him. So and I'm able to speak to him now and again. And then sometimes what's happened with my clients, which I wasn't expecting it, became like a secondary thing, because they've raised their energy and their frequency so much. They're able to talk to their loved ones.
Well, and the cool thing is that they recognize that their loved ones are not dead.
That's
that
right.
They're still with them. They're still alive in their essence, in their consciousness. They just don't have a body. And everything else is still with them. I needed to ask you, though, do you work with people, and have you had this happen to you, where somebody comes to you and says, I've got physical problems and I don't know why I have physical problems, because they have buried the grief so deeply and they haven't exercised it and they haven't gotten it out, but it's affecting them in other ways. But they don't even recognize that. Does that ever happen?
Yes, all the time. And it is usually It is usually around their center core. It's usually around, they'll have shoulder problems, they'll have heart problems, they will have liver, they will have stomach problems. They might have, they will have back problems, headaches. Headache seems to be, one of the main ones as well. A lot of people will come to me and they say, I'm constantly got a cold. I've constantly got throat problems. And I also work with the energy. So I'm working with the main chakras throughout the body. And I can see, your throat is completely closed. Your heart is completely closed because you're so heartbroken. You're not speaking your truth. You're not telling people exactly how you feel. And when I start talking to people about, well, who have you told about your death? Who have you spoken to? Oh, no, I don't speak to anybody. Well, that's why. That's why you have throat problems, because you're not speaking your truth. You're not allowing the grief to come out. Because your mouth is one of the most important and most powerful things that you've got. Speak it.
It is really amazing. Brichelle?
Yeah, this is huge, and it is heavy because I am that. It's one of those things, Paula, for me. It's like it's not even really even the talking, but like even further down than that, focusing on your breath. I'll get so tired from like scream crying. My body is shaking. My sight is going away. I'm like, I don't know how my heart continues to beat. And even just focusing on those breaths, like when you saying this is so prominent, and I hope not just to me, but for so many listening to this, because I just said to Kevin last week, I realized I didn't start dealing with one death. It was only one death. I've gone through good 25 of them, at least in the last 2 years. I started only dealing with one, and everything that I could possibly remember since before I was a year old came to the surface. And I was so mad. Even now, I woke up today, I was mad. I was so mad. I mean, I wasn't taking it out on anybody, and I was aware of how I was feeling, but without blowing up or without having to deal with it, I shut up. I didn't talk about it. I didn't tell anybody I was mad this morning. I just said I'm going through a little bit of tenseness, so I like gave half of the truth. And then I realized, well, I don't want to talk about it. And if I don't talk about it, then it's not going to make me cry. And so many people, including me now, have come to the point where all there is crying. There's tears and tears and tears and tears and tears. And I'm angry. And then sometimes I'm just like numb. And it's so peaceful in a way, because I realize that I can actually feel those things. Like there's all these things that go through our head, and a lot of people think stages of grief, right? Well, this, then this, then this, then this. That is all wrong. Can you explain why?
Gosh. Okay. Well, let's just go back a little bit. The crying.
Okay, sorry.
Right.
I just blew up on you.
No. Right.
It's making me sweat.
Crying is good. Crying is good. Crying, you are a human being. So let's just give yourself permission to do that. You are allowed to cry. Crying is releasing stress. You have stress hormones in your tears. That's why we cry. Okay, so your body is doing exactly what it's meant to do. It is protecting you. It is releasing. Okay, so then when you go numb, again, your body is doing exactly what it's meant to do. It is protecting you. It's gone into self-preservation mode. So again, that's fine. The 5 stages of grief that people talk about, the shock, the denying, the depression, the acceptance, and all that. Okay, I've never ever met one person that goes through it in the stages ever, and I've been doing this for over 20 years.
Thank God. Okay,
never.
That feels good to hear. I'll tell you that, Paula.
Never. I think most people they jump from shock to anger, and then back to shock, and then into denial, and then somewhere they try and have a go at acceptance, then back to anger, then depression, and they jump all over the place. Because I think putting in these stages of grief, and I understand why, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross did this. I understand it. But actually, it's created a bit of a cage for people.
Yeah.
It's, there's more to feel than just these 5 stages. And I couldn't tell you how many people I've said, well, is happiness one of the stages? I must be evil because I'm feeling happy that they've now died and they're not in pain anymore. Well, of course, that's a stage. That's your stage. That's your personal feeling. Or someone else, envy. I've even had somebody envious that somebody died, and well, yes, that's yours. You don't have to fit this little box that someone came up with. You have to be allowed. And like I said at the beginning, give yourself permission to grieve, however that is. If you want to dance around naked in the rain and scream and shout and do whatever, then you go ahead and you do that. You want to go to the pub and start getting drunk for a few days, you go ahead and do that. I'm not going to judge you, but I will say don't keep doing it because alcohol isn't particularly long term. But, you have to find a way of getting through it and working around it. And then when you're ready, working on it, dealing with it. Being proactive in your own grief is the absolute number one thing you have to do. And yes, I know it's the last thing you want to do when you're grieving. But there has to be a point where you turn to yourself and say, is this how I want to live? Because I've had these conversations with women throughout the years where they've said things like I said before, I am never going to get over grief. It's been 10 years since my mum died and I'm never going to get over it. Mm-hmm. Right.
And Paula, I want to ask you something, but we need to take a break first. Okay. And then when we come back, I want to ask you, because I've known people that have been grieving for 20 years. Every time I talk to them, they were still talking about their mom and dad's death 20 years later. What a waste of life. I want to address that when we come back. And okay. Rochelle is here, and I know she's got a bunch of questions.
I'm more absorbing right now. I think that's what I need. I'm going to just kind of act like I'm in and I'm a little bit out. But yes, I want to touch with what Kevin said, because to even hear that grief doesn't last forever is little wonky to me. So I'd like to understand more.
Okay.
We'll be right back.
You're listening to Brushwood Media Network, the best in syndicated talk, news, and entertainment shows.
Are you looking for your daily dose of inspiration? Stay connected to all your favorite shows, music, and news with the Brushwood Media Network app. From Positive Talk Radio to Greatest Vibes Unplugged and so many more uplifting voices around the world, everything you need is right in one place. It's easy to use, too. Always available and designed to keep you inspired 24 hours a day. Go to BrushwoodMediaNetwork.com and download the app, and you will always have Brushwood Media available on your smartphone. Download it now and make inspiration and music and conversation part of your everyday. And welcome back to Positive Talk. My name is Kevin McDonald, and Rochelle is here, but she's incognito at the moment. And Paula J Roscoe was our guest. And Rochelle, are you still here?
Yes, I am still here, and I will be right back. If you just read the private chat, I let you a little message, but I'm still here. I'm listening. So please continue the conversation.
I didn't mean to interrupt. See, we're doing these back to back, and so I didn't mean to interrupt something that is absolutely necessary that is going on with her. But I wanted to mention this because I know a young lady, and she is a psychic medium, or claims to be, and she has been feeling grief for her parents for 20 years. Mm-hmm. And she says that she has contact with them and stuff. And I said, so in my mind, why are you grieving something that doesn't need to be grieved anymore? Because you know that the outcome is that they're still with you, and they're still with you every day, and that you're going to see them again, and they are doing just fine. But so what is it that keeps people in grief, even when they have either a belief or an understanding that everything is fine, but they continue? Is it because, and I don't know, but is it because they have a victim thing where they're calling it, it's kind of a badge of honor to be in grief? I don't know. Tell me, Paula, tell me.
Okay. I think having talked to a lot of people over the years, I think a lot of it comes down to guilt. I think people feel guilty if they dare to embrace life again, if they dare to smile, if they dare to forget even for a second, because we're brought up in a society that dictates how you're supposed to grieve, how long you're supposed to grieve. And if you deviate from that for just a second, it's somehow you're called a monster. I mean, I've been called a monster before now, a heartless monster, for not grieving my son anymore. So, I do think it's ingrained in people, which is why I'm trying to teach people that there is a different way to grieving. There is a different way to look at it. It doesn't have to dictate your life. Now, if you like, I can tell you this story of this elderly man I had. It was when I was very first became a counselor. And he came in and he was about 62, and it was obvious he didn't want to be there. He came in, had arms, very defensive, and he just sat down in front of me. He said, I've got nothing to say to you. It's all mumbo jumbo. And I said, that's okay, fine. It's your hour. You can do what you want with it. And after 10 minutes or so, he said, well, I suppose I'll talk to you while I'm here. And I said, yeah, so we just talked about various bits and pieces. And eventually we got round to the fact that his sister had sent him to me. And she wanted him to talk to me about the death of his father 3 months before. And when he was talking, I said to him, this has got nothing to do with your dad. And he just sat back and he said, no, it doesn't. I said, well, why don't you tell me why you're really here? And he told me about his mum. Now, his mum had died when he was 9 years old, and he had never grieved. He had never cried. He had never been able to talk about her. He had never been able to find out anything about her. He only had very, small memory about her. Because the first thing his dad said to him when his mum died, boys don't cry. You've got to be a man now. So he did. He did nothing. He never had a family. He just had a job. He never had children. He just did a job. And then he was retiring not that long after. And then he went. And I never thought I'd see him again. But he did. He came back the week after. And he sat and he cried. And he cried the whole hour, more or less. And as he got up to leave, he said to me, don't let other people do what I did. Don't let them ruin their life like I did. And he left. And I never saw him again. 52 years this man held on to his grief.
Wow.
52 years. Do not be that guy. And I said, I tell his story all the time because I try. 52 years, this man just wasted life. So when I speak to women who say to me, well, I'm never going to get over this. My mum died how many years ago, or my dad died. I'm never going to get over this. I say, okay, so is this your life? Is this how you want your life to be? Because you're going to live for another, 30, 40, 50 years. So is this it? And you can see that shock of, oh, well, no, I don't want to stay like this. Well, if you don't want to stay like that, stop telling yourself stories that you have to. Take that risk and step into another possibility.
And Paula, let me ask you this, and you tell me. You're the therapist. I'm just a simple guy. But I was talking to a lady. She'd lost her husband 2 years ago,
Okay.
and As she started to talk about him, she started to cry again.
Mhm.
And I said, "You're still in grief." And she said, "Desperately."
Mm.
And I said, "Well, let me ask you a question. If the roles were reversed and you'd passed and your husband was still here, would you want him to be as miserable as you are? Or would you want him from the other side to want him to live every day, every moment as full and as happy as you can? He would want you to love again. He would want you to live your life to the fullest because we're here for such a short time. And that seemed to help her a little bit. But did I do the right thing or did I send her into
No, I mean you are. You did a very gentle challenge, which is what we should all be doing. Yes, absolutely. Of course you should. Because I'll tell you something. Absolutely. I mean, I've spoken to thousands of spirits over the years, and I've never met one that says, "Oh, do you know what? I wish they grieved me a bit longer." They don't do that. They go, "Oh, for God's sake, did they have to waste that much money on a bloody funeral? Or, will they just go out and do something, go and live their life?" The biggest thing I come across with spirit is regret. They regret not embracing life. They regret not doing more, and they want us to do that. They want us to not make the same mistakes. Go out and live your life. It doesn't mean you forget the person. It doesn't mean that you just throw them away and you never think about them again. That's never going to happen, because you're human and you loved, and this is it. Grief is love.
Oh, exactly. And I have to tell you, there's a gal by the name of Michelle Hernandez. 15 years ago, she kissed her husband goodbye. He got on his bicycle because he was a bicycle rider and he was going to take a bike ride. And she kissed him and said goodbye. Got a call 5 minutes later that he had been in an accident and that he was very close. So she went to the hospital with him. He died on the way to the hospital. She grieved, and then she turned that grief into action. And she created the Widows Club. And it's now a national organization in the United States. And they have grief seminars for widowers and widows, and so that they can re-enter and realize that they're not alone, that they can do some of these extraordinary things. And she's now 15 years later, she's been doing this. She's married. She's happy. She has a special place in her heart for her former husband who passed away, but it doesn't define her. The
No,
work does.
Yeah, absolutely. That is a beautiful, beautiful story. I worked with a guy. I was talking before about, the Welsh being coal miners, and he was an old coal miner. And he said to me that his grief felt like he was still carrying 2 big bags of coal on his back for his wife. And he was really struggling. He would walk in, almost like this, he was always having problems with his back and stuff. And after we'd done some work together, he said it was like he could put a piece of coal in his pocket. And that was now how he carried his wife. He was able to sort of put her in his pocket and bring her out every now and again when he needed to, say he spoke to her, he said the words that he loved and go, reminisce and things, but he could put her back in his pocket and carry on with his life. And life is a beautiful thing. It's not something to be afraid of. It's not something to turn our backs on. It's very, very important that we embrace life. And it's not easy. I'm not saying it's easy. Some of us have to crawl on our hands and knees for a while. But I did it on my own. And the whole point of me doing that was to make sure that others don't have to, which is why I wrote the book, Survive Grief and Come Back to Life, which is why I write ebooks now about various topics around grief, so that other people have something that they can hang on to and use if they need to. And obviously, if they want to talk to me, they can.
It's pretty awesome. Paula J Roscoe is our guest. And I got to ask you, Do you know that this is truly a worldwide presentation? Because I'm in Seattle, Brochelle's in Salt Lake City, you're in Wales, and Samuel is in Kenya with his team of and it is about midnight there, and 25 of his people are, or his team of 15 in our center. And go ahead and read that, Brochelle.
Yes, he says, greetings, my elder brother Kevin McDonald and my sister Brochelle and guest Paula J Roscoe, watching and listening to you live from the Kiberia slums in Nairobi, Kenya, together with my team of 15 in our center in Kiberia, Restoring Hope Center. This is our favorite program show. God bless you, and so that you can continue to bring professionals, coaches, and mentors. We are proud of you, for the Kiberia is tuned in. And hello, Samuel. We love you. Thank you for joining us in again on another show. And I know that it doesn't matter, like Kevin said, wherever we are around the world, we're going through grief. And I know we need to take a quick break. I just want to touch on one thing. Something you said, Paula, that I'm not going to let go of, that I understand now, is I have quite a sense with the non-living, as I have since I was little. And I started to open back up to that. And what was weird is when I lost the grief of my grandma and started going through that, she was the one person, my grandma Jackie, in my life who was very spiritual. She always said, I'm going to leave you notes. I'm going to talk to you. You better pay attention to me. But she was also the most like me. She was a very angry woman sometimes. She didn't put up with nobody's crap. She was very emotional, like all these things about her that we were alike in. And now that she's passed on and I have those things, I'm like, Grandma, I don't understand. And here's why, is because she's not that person anymore. She's not. She's not her human self. She is Jacqueline. And she's the one who's telling me, don't be angry. Give yourself time. Quit stressing about those things. Don't let that override you. Everything I hear from her is the opposite of how I am like her. So I don't know exactly how that works. I'm still figuring it out as I grow into my mediumship and my grief and all those things. But for that to tie together, she's so not who she was on this earth. She's the exact opposite of it. And she's speaking through me. And sometimes that makes me angry. And you know what? I let that just be, because I'm upset. I'm trying to figure it out. So it just reminds me that no matter where you're at, and just be patient with yourself and slow down a little bit, because things that don't make sense start to make a little more sense, and it gets just a little easier. So Kevin, I'll let you take us into break, and then we sadly will wrap up with our Paula.
Okay.
And when we will come back, we're going to get all Paula's information so that you can reach out to her, because everybody experiences grief, and sometimes you need help to be able to get through it, and she can do it, and she can do it worldwide. So anywhere in the world, she can go and talk to you. As long as it's not, like late at night her time. But anyway, we'll be right back in 1 minute. Stay with us. Not every song changes you, but the right ones do. At Greatest Vibes Unplugged, we share music that hits deeper, no filters, no noise, just pure sound with soul. This is your reminder that light still exists, and sometimes it sings. And remember, you can look up in the sky and see the stars, but still not see the light. Here's another point to ponder by Positive Talk Radio. In a dark room, a single candle was lit. That tiny flame chased away the shadows, filling the space with hope. Your courage, your kindness, and your light may seem small at times, but it can change someone's entire world. Never underestimate the power you already carry inside. Even the smallest flame can ignite a fire that transforms lives. You are listening to Positive Talk Radio, where stories of hope come alive. And welcome back to Positive Talk with Brochelle. That's her right there. My name is Kevin McDonald, and Paula J Roscoe is our guest. And Brochelle, if somebody wants to go to her website, how do they get there?
Yes, go visit. Don't fidget with your computer or your phone. That takes your brain down a whole different path. I know that. Go visit PJ Roscoe, and that is ROSCOE.co.uk. And as she said, you have all the information on your website. It's very laid out. It's very simple. And I love how it's very gentle approaching. A lot of times we think of grief and it's like this, like this is so heavy. You can't even really think. You get to these websites and you're looking at them and it's like, I don't know where to start. Just look at the top. Just look at the top.
Yeah.
There's a few things that she lays out right there for you. And when it comes to fictional novels, we didn't touch on that very, very much. Is your fictional novels, were those in the beginning a part of what you've now created and mixed in with your grief therapy and healing work, or are those completely separate?
They are completely separate. So I'm like two things in the world. I'm PJ Roscoe with the fiction, and I'm Paula J Roscoe with this book, Survive Grief, and my ebooks around it's a How Do I series of ebooks, because that's always the first question I get asked by clients. How do I deal with whatever it is that they come up with? So there's one, how do I deal with stress? How do I bridge the gap between myself and my partner while grieving? How do I sleep? They're the three main things that I seem to come up with. I'm going to write some more, but at the moment I'm busy doing something else. Yeah. And so that email there, it also takes you to the link will take you to Everyday Woman, the magazine I launched last month. Yeah. Because I didn't have enough to do. Why not? I thought, well, why not? So that's a magazine for women that came out last month. The first issue is free. You can opt in there to read that, and then you can go on to subscribe, please.
And show your book one more time so everybody can see it.
This is it. Survive Grief and Come Back to Life, the Memoir of a Survivor. And that is a book in 3 stages. It's a little bit of information around grief. It's not overwhelming, because that's one of the things I found with clients. They would say to me, well, I tried reading a book, but it was just too much information. So I just give a little bit of what grief is. The middle section is all self-help. It's little bits of parts of the workshop that I do with clients, and I've sort of given you a little bit of teasers. So there's 12 self-help things that you can do there that are going to help your grief. And then the last bit is my memoir. It's how I survived.
Beautiful.
And Paula, I have to ask you, I want you to pretend, I know this will be really hard for you, but pretend that I'm a woman and I come to you and I say...
Imagine him with a wig. It might be easier.
Okay.
Easier.
All right, I'm trying.
Okay. Imagine, Paula, why do I have bad dreams all the time?
Well, your dreams, they are your subconscious trying to work out how to help you in your consciousness. So bad dreams are a way of your body, again, putting you into self-preservation mode to protect you. So what I would always say to clients, if you're having bad dreams, if you can, either have a recorder next to the bed so that the second you wake up, you speak into it and say what it is you can remember. Or if you want to, write it down. And then listen to it, and you'll start to see patterns about what those bad dreams mean. So and you can start to look into what they symbolize and that kind of thing. And you'll start to see things. But it's also about making peace with it and sort of saying to yourself, okay, I'm having bad dreams. What are you telling me, body? What is it you want me to know? Okay, mind, what is it you want me to know? And sometimes if a client of mine is having a lot of bad dreams, which most do, we will sit down, we will sort of do some breathing. I will have them with a pen and paper, and I will ask them, tell me your dream. What does it mean? And I will make them write, because their subconscious already knows the answer. And their heart space will then answer. and then it
So
usually
this is not an unusual thing. This is if somebody's in grief, this can be part of their grief experience.
yeah, of course it can.
Even if it
Because
started maybe young, how you said a lot of it has to do with PTSD and trauma. For me, Kevin's probably asking this question for me. I'll admit that. They are not nightmares, they are night terrors.
sure.
I will wake up and not understand how that wasn't real type of thing, and I loop in my dreams. So once I'm finally awake, it's like shock because I'm like, whoa, I was just there. Now I'm here. Now I'm safe. Now everything's okay. And it's a very confusing thing. And I've met people recently who have had that, and it's a lifelong thing. Is that because of the way that our lives have been and because of what we hold on to that we're not properly releasing?
Well, yeah, you obviously haven't turned around and challenged it. You haven't turned around and faced it. You haven't given yourself permission to do that, which again, your body's in self-preservation. So it's about finding a way that works for you to answer the questions that your body is obviously trying to tell you. It's obviously trying to get you to a point that is going to make you. So I usually find people who have night terrors, when it becomes that point where they're that they're sort of stuck in bed and they can't move, that is your body saying, you are going to listen. Are you listening yet? You've allowed yourself to get to that point. Are you going to listen to me yet? So it's about answering. Yeah, okay. Tell me what I need to know. What is it that I am hiding so deep within myself that I am too afraid to turn and face? And yeah, that you need help with that. You can't always do that on your own, because that's a big thing, because you don't know what's there, and you need help to do that gently, lovingly. Always do it gently and lovingly. This is not about turning and facing yourself going, right, come on, what's going on?
That's what I've been doing.
Yeah, well, that's just adding to the tension. You're just adding to the stress. You're adding. What you want is to relieve. You want it to go away. You want it to de-stress. You want it to decompress. So what I would suggest is what I've just said. If you have a little handheld recorder next to your bed, train yourself to, as soon as you wake up, talk into it. Speak your truth. What is it? Ask your body, mind, spirit, what is it you're trying to tell me? What is it you're trying to teach me? I'm ready to listen.
Ooh, Paula, I have to ask you. So, other than dreams, if somebody has say, Paula, I do so good, and then once or twice or maybe 14 times a day, I'm pulling myself together and I'm having these moments where I blow up. Is that a good time to also use that same method to write or to speak into something? This is how I'm feeling.
Absolutely.
This is what I'm going through. Like while you're awake and you're through your day-to-day life, can that be helpful too?
Yeah. I use writing. Writing is a very, very powerful tool. And so if you're having like a stress, if you're sort of losing it and you're really going mad, stop, sit down, get a pen, ask yourself, okay, why am I doing this? Just start writing. Don't think about it. Just start writing. The moment you stop and go, that's when you stop, because that's when you've gone into self-preservation. Ask yourself the question, immediately write, and that's your truth.
Beautiful.
Brilliant.
Everybody
Paula
take
J
notes.
Roscoe has been our guest. And if you want to get in touch with her, Paula, how do they get in touch with you best?
Through my website, or they can email me at paulajroscoe@gmail.com, or I'm on Facebook under Paula Roscoe Grief Guru.
Beautiful.
You are awesome. We are not done with you yet. I can tell you that right now. We're gonna have to invite you back, because there's so much more. It is such a full topic that does envelope everybody, because at one point in time, everybody is going to go through grief. And it may not be the death of somebody. It can be the death of a job. It can be the death of a pet. It can be the death, or it could be just, it could be anything.
Even a breakup, and they're still alive.
Absolutely.
And that's a
Yeah.
whole different way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was working with a woman a few months ago, and she was grieving her mother's ring. She'd lost her mother's ring. It was the last thing her mother gave to her, and she has no idea what happened to it. She dealt with the grief of her mum, but it was the ring, you know? So grief is absolutely anything that you lose that you love. That is grief.
Beautifully said.
Well, we love you, and we're not going to grieve you either. So,
No, I hope not.
there- Paula J Roscoe has been our guest. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh.
And Rochelle, anything before we go?
Yes, just go visit her website, pjroscoe.co.uk. Get in touch with her, read the book, do something to help yourself, and remember the story of the old man who looked at Paula in her eyes after 50 years and said, "Do not let anyone else feel this." And maybe just food for thought that you're worth that. So thank you for joining us and everybody to the show. We love you, and we'll be back again with another great show here in just a few.
Thank you
Brilliantly
so much,
said,
guys.
my dear. Thank you, Paula. Thank you for being part of Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald, where stories inspire and voices remind us of what truly matters. May today's conversation give you hope, courage, and a reason to keep moving forward. And just remember, till next time, be kind to one another because each other's all we've got.